And away we go.
And it's episode 36, and that's Steve, and I'm Al and Steve.
Breakfast with Al.
And brunch with Al and Steve, and we're doing Phil's again. I got the
Swiss
cheese burger.
With yours has got onions
and mushrooms. Travis Heights is what they call it in.
That's a neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a neighborhood.
And
His
mine's
is the Allendale,
which is a classic cheeseburger.
Oh, and the green bean fries. That's the big thing that I got.
Potato fries and regular fries.
If you're in the area and not familiar, give them a shot because they're pretty good.
Playground for kids.
Yeah, we're starting off with wow, is Texas fucked up, and then we'll be moving into more wow, is Texas fucked up. But the second part revolves the rest of the country. So, for some reason, and I'm actually North Austin is where I live. My neighborhood has a history of, I'll just come right out and say it, cop killing. Like we had an incident about, give or take about 10 years ago where there was I call him a kid, he was late teens, early 20s, and he was high on drugs and running around naked, and the cops shot him because, I mean, how the hell are you a threat if you're completely naked and you don't have a weapon on you? I don't know. Anyways, about 2 weeks ago, we had a similar thing happen twice within 48 hours. I don't remember the details on the one, but the one that we're going to go into more detail about, the, again, I call him a kid because he's, early 20s or so, called the cops. He was the one that called the cops. I'm not sure exactly what he said, but the cops came out, said something to the effect of, show us your hands or whatever, and he reached down. I guess all he had was like a water bottle or something because they never found anything on him, but he got shot about, 15 times or something for calling the cops to help him. It's a black kid. The other incident, I know it wasn't a white kid. Neither of them were white, and yes, that is relevant.
Of course.
It's. I'm not saying that. Yeah, it is relevant. And the newspapers actually had the audacity to call it a suicide by cop. They actually used that phraseology.
Well, it wasn't just. Oh, go ahead.
Well, as if the kid who called the cops knew that they would come out and this would happen, which is so beyond insane that we've reached the point where this is a common enough occurrence that they're actually going to slap that label on it. I'm going to have a few bites. Steve, your comment?
Right. So this is, okay, so I'll talk about, this is not just common here in Texas. This is not just common in recent history. This is not this is anything new whatsoever, right? It just so happens it happened in your neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
But this happens all the time, and that's because cops are not trained to de-escalate or to manage situations appropriately. The vast majority of their calls are situations like this, or domestic situations, or some kind of nonviolent crime, or something after the fact, right? Very, very, very rarely are they engaging in any sort of aggression in the moment, right? But they are fully trained all the time and geared up for that scenario, which rarely ever fucking occurs. Rarely ever fucking occurs. And when it does occur, they don't know what to fucking do anyways, because they're a bunch of idiots, the Keystone Cops. Let's just take a look at the police. Why do we have police? People think it's to serve and protect. The original police force was originated as slave patrols and to defend big business. They're there to defend capital. They twisted,
and it hasn't changed
and
that
it hasn't
much.
changed in over 150 years, so or more. So this is how they've been trained and operated since day one. Nothing is new. So they're going to get themselves geared up and righted up and trained up for the very unlikely scenario of violence, which you can't minimize, right? And you have to have it. But many places throughout the world have police forces who don't even have weapons, right? Not even armed. Well, they have
batons or whatever.
Batons.
They don't have,
because they understand.
they don't have semi-automatic firearms.
Just to show up to some incident. But of course, here in America, we have what is it, 3 guns to every person. We just have an extremely violent society and culture, right? And the police are no different. Now, when you see minorities and women joining the police force, once again, these are psychophants who think if they are part of the system and join the system and get in the proximity of this power, that they're somehow going to be one of them. You know, they're assimilating to the system. But to me, that is just like more mind-numbing to me in a certain sense. I guess I can't speak for that because I was never like treated as horribly as, you know, a woman or a minority. That's obviously a minority in this country. So maybe I would want to assimilate, and just so I would relieve some of that, that. I said, oh, I'll just be part of it. I'll just assimilate. But to me, it just seems so bizarre that you're like joining a force that's just really out to get you. And at any rate, so this, I'm just kind of going through the history here. So why this happens, why this always seems to happen, and why it's going to continue to happen as long as we don't completely change the police force in general, right? I think Uvalde was the prime example of 200 cops who couldn't do shit.
I think it was 60, but anyway.
Was it 60?
Anyways, it was more than several dozen, and they didn't do anything for close to an hour when they knew that there was an active shooter incident going on.
Right. So
and
they don't do it. They show up after the crime, and then they do nothing, and then they'll make marijuana here in Texas a felony when and then a violent criminal gets out. But anyways, the point being is, this is how police are trained and geared for the worst case scenario in every case, because their life is so threatening.
And yes, it's Texas, but
this is nationwide.
In theory, this is one of the more liberal parts of Texas, and it's just
not when it comes to police.
Well, not when it comes to police. You're right.
So here we go. Same thing, right? And this is nationwide, right? This is systemic. This is what occurs, and until they change the nature of policing, which in vast majority of cases needs like somebody with some kind of psychological background or social background or criminal justice background when it comes to like detective work, or because it's after the fact. So
right.
You need a detective, not a police officer. You need somebody who's a lot of cases like this one where you're going to need some mental health professional involved.
Well, and the oversight is beyond pathetic. I was reading some of the older newspaper, and it was talking about one cop that, I don't know what the incident was that he was involved in, but he was fired 3 times. They hired him back 3 times after. I mean, in what other profession would you be let go by the same employer, 3
right.
fucking times and rehired?
Right. So there's, like I said, there's a few types of people who join police forces. Those who are just brutal people to begin with, and those who are trying to assimilate into a system and for a paycheck, but they're not qualified in any other way but to be violent and harass people. Because a lot of them want to go there to harass people. That's their ego trip, right? The whole thing is an ego trip, whether you're trying to assimilate and get proximity to power, or if you're a white dude and you just want to beat on people all day, or have that power fucking dynamic going on here. Rarely ever do I think someone is. They might genuinely think in the beginning that they're in there to help, and then they probably shortly realize that that's not really what this is about. So, anyways, this is the systemic nature of the police force in general. That they're not here to preserve and protect the community. On rare occasion, you'll hear these nice little anecdotal stories of getting a cat out of a tree or something.
Yeah,
sure,
and I wish we had some bigger lesson here, but the big lesson is that things in this particular topic have not radically changed.
Oh, they won't either.
And don't show any signs.
And once again, this is this fear-mongering, right, about crime rates and crime and violent crime.
Except that crime rates have actually gone down like nationwide over the last several decades,
but they're going to make you think that it's gotten worse and worse and worse. So, at any rate, so that they can beef up these police forces, so that when you do have some type of resistance, they come and just beat your head in because they don't like what you're saying. We'll get into that, next episode. But so let's just get to this case and what happened. So this is why, probably leading up to this, I just explained to you why these police behave this way, right? So what we do know is that the call came from his cell phone, right?
Yeah.
So most likely he's the guy who called. I know that much. What did he say? I don't know. According to the police, they said that there was somebody in the park brandishing a gun, right? So when they arrive and he lifts his shirt and to expose his water bottle, for whatever reason, we don't know, they decided to shoot him, right? Without any further evidence of, it doesn't look like he was reaching for it. Maybe he put his hand down, but he had not even like drawn it out or anything, right? And they started shooting. So here the question. So then the narrative that the police are going to do, because they don't want to take culpability, because they never do. They never want to be honest about what the hell they are. And this is the thing too about police, and I wanted to get to this before, right? They'll say, well, it's a bad apple in the bunch that spoils it. No. The whole lot is poisoned, right? Some are just absolutely rotted to the core. Some are just a little bit.
But the point of the bad apple analogy is that if you have a bad apple, you get rid of it. Otherwise, it'll cause everything else to spoil.
That's not what's causing. The bad apple is not causing the whole bunch to spoil.
Right.
Every apple in this bunch is spoiled to some degree. Some are just rotten when they walk in the door.
That's true too.
But if you came in and you were just a good apple, you are now a rotten apple just by the system itself. It's not the bad apple that spoiled that bunch. Do you get what I'm trying to get at?
It was the bunch to begin with.
The bunch is spoiled. There's nothing good about how the whole system is arranged and set up, right? So let's go back to, this is probably getting long, but I hope people kind of can put their head around this. The BLM movement and stuff, and about people saying defund the police. Well, there was never really a mention of, they were saying defund the police in the way that it's organized today and put that money towards other ways and means of serving the community. Let's not even call it policing, right? Of serving the community, right? They weren't saying defund any efforts to help the community. Serve and protect the community. We still want to serve and protect the community. We just don't want fucking Gestapo police going around shooting people every time they have a mental health problem.
Yeah.
Right? And you certainly want...
And they've done studies, and when you actually put in more social programs, when you raise the minimum wage, when you do all these kinds of things, crime goes down. Gee,
that's a whole nother topic. We can go on for hours why crime would go down, period.
Yeah.
If we just had a different society in general, right? A more communal society. So when we were fucking at each other's throats all the time, right? So at any rate, so this is, to your point, what's going on here? Why is this happening? So the police are going to create this narrative that this was suicide by cop, right? Now, does that happen in the rare occurrence? Maybe it does. I don't know. Maybe there are guys who just don't want to take themselves out, and they know if they get the police over there and they brandish a gun that the cop's going to shoot them.
Except they never found a gun on him. Yeah.
Right. And I've seen or heard certain cases where the individual even said it before it happened, like wrote it in a note or something. So I won't completely dismiss that it can happen.
Something that might happen on a
very rare.
Yeah.
But I think what cops like to do is say it's suicide by cop when it's not, so they don't have to take responsibility not only in their community but internally in their own fucking mind that they just fucking shot and killed somebody. So they get trained and taught. They are trigger happy. They get this thing. They are now going to create this narrative, right? But what I haven't heard a peep of, and maybe I should look more into it. Maybe there was how do you know that when he called the police, he might have been having mental health problems and he might have a history of whatever, but maybe there was somebody in the park with a gun.
Right. Just there's no evidence that he was that
not
person.
just telling the truth, and he just raised his shirt to say, "Hey, see, we don't know this." I'm totally speculating and pulling on my dome too and making shit up. But so are the cops. They're making shit up. We don't know the fucking truth here. All we know is he lifted his shirt and they fucking shot him. And that's just totally indicative. This is not an offshoot. This is not a rare occurrence. This is what they fucking do. And this is another point I wanted to make earlier. Being a police officer is not the most dangerous job in America. It's in the top 10, I think. Maybe. Look at how
10 or 20, it's not in the top 5 though.
It's not in the top 5, I believe. It's not one of the more dangerous jobs, right? And you would think it was, You would think it was, but it's not. And as far as that's death, right? Statistically, though, for injury and shit, they're way down at the fucking bottom. If you just want to go with that. So you're way more fucking likely to get killed, I think, or injured, way more likely if you're in construction or some shit. That's a way more. But you don't see them walking around with guns or hard helmets and all this gear and shit, unless you're You understand?
Right.
No one's
And
going
they
out
gotta
of
know
the way.
that, but yeah.
No, some job sites, they're trying to do their best, but they're not going out of the way like cops do to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe they should. This is my point. You're gonna protect these guys, but not these guys, because they're just workers working on a job. Right? But anyways, they should have more protection. I'm not. I guess I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. It's the misallocation of resources. It's the misallocation of what the police are there to do, right? And at the end of the day, they're just there to protect capital, to protect the ruling class, and to intimidate the populace and make sure you don't fucking step out of line.